Hey everyone, Kevin P. McAuliffe here for Rampant Design Tools, and I'm back again with another tutorial. This time we're going to create the look that you see in front of you, an archival film look using DaVinci's Resolve and some fantastic elements from the Rampant Studio Film Effects bundle. I love this bundle. As you can see in front of you right now, a great way to get in and create a very stylized look, especially if you work in documentaries. It's a look that's relatively easy to create with a little bit of color correction to your footage, as well as using these fantastic elements. Okay, so let's Command or Alt and Tab into DaVinci Resolve, and as you can see, I've already navigated to the folder that contains both my Studio Film Effects elements from Rampant Design Tools, as well as my video clip. Now, what we're going to do is simply take the clip of the bison, we're going to drag it and drop it down into the media pool. Now, you'll see that I've been notified by Resolve right away that the clip or clips have a different frame rate than the current project. Do I want to change the timeline's frame rate and video format to match? And I do not want to do that. I'm just going to say don't change. And inside of my Studio Film Effects folder, I'm going to take all of the elements here except that light leaks element. We're not going to use that one in this lesson. So I'm going to bring this down. We're going to drop it into the media pool. And again, if you don't have the view laid out like I have it laid out now in thumbnail view, you can easily switch that right here between list view and thumbnail view. And don't forget, you can always increase the size of the thumbnails by simply grabbing the slide bar and dragging it to the left or to the right. Now, what we're going to do is head over to the Edit module, and as you can see again, I have the media pool here in thumbnail view in the largest possible thumbnail size. So it just makes navigating through my different Rampant Design Tools elements as easy as possible. Now, I should also point out that if you have an iOS device, I highly encourage you to download the Rampant Previewer app from the App Store. It's a fantastic application that you can use to not only navigate through all of the bundles that you currently own, but all of the bundles across all of the Rampant Design Tools products line. You can get in and see everything from the Monster Toolkit to film effects to lens flares. Again, just about every package that's available is available to see inside of the Rampant Previewer. It's a free download. It's only 5 megabytes, and if you've got a Wi-Fi connection, you'll be able to source all of your elements very quickly and very easily. Okay, so let's grab our clip. I'm going to drag it and drop it here down into our timeline. And I do also want to mention that this clip is coming to us courtesy of Artbeat. So I want to give a big shout out to them and a thank you for letting me use this clip in our lesson. You can check this clip out and a whole bunch of more clips at artbeats.com. Okay. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is to get in and to color correct this footage to make it look like it is sepia tone. Okay. So what we're going to do is head to the color module, and inside of the color module, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get in and grab our offset color wheel, and I'm just going to start cranking it all the way over towards sort of orange and red, right about there. Which most people think, Kev, how are you going to get a sepia tone look out of this? This looks terrible. Okay. Well, where we're going to get the sepia tone look is I'm going to navigate down to the saturation, and I'm going to start pulling the saturation out a little bit. Pretty much till we get to about there. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Now we might need to get in and make some minor adjustments to the lift, gamma, and gain, just their brightness levels here. So let's just bring the mids up a little bit. And maybe I'll just bring the blacks just down ever so slightly. And I think I'm fairly happy with this sepia tone look. So you see that it was very quick and very simple to create, literally with a few clicks of the mouse. Okay, so let's now get in. Let's choose the vignette effect that we're going to want to put over this footage. I normally like to use vignettes as the base when I'm working with these Rampant Studio Film effects. Just because, well, actually, you'll see why. I don't want to spoil it too much just yet, but you'll see why in just a second, okay? So I'm going to use the skim tool just to skim over top of this, just to see which one I think I'd like to use. Now, this one I notice flickers quite a bit. This one, not so much. So I think we're going to go with this effect here. I'm just going to, again, drag it right down onto the clip and then pull up to create that video track number 2. I'm also going to copy this element, and we're going to paste it down again, because the other great thing with these elements is that in a lot of cases you want to make them loopable. So all I basically did was I just took it, put it back to back, because the way the flicker happens, if I hit play, you're not even going to notice right here when the edit happens here that an edit even happened. And that pretty much is the same for all of the elements inside of the Studio Film Effects. You can just lay them down back to back and create completely loopable elements very quickly and very easily. Okay. Now let's select one of these elements here. I'm just going to come back a little bit. And what I'd like to do is just adjust the zoom on this a little bit here, just because the aspect ratio is not quite the same as the aspect ratio of the footage that we're working with. Okay. Now something else I should point out that I can do, because we're going to be doing this to pretty much all of the clips that we're going to be creating our look with, is I can right click and I can copy this or use the shortcut Command or Control C. And then what I can do with this element, because we have to make the same adjustment, is we can now come up and we can paste attributes. Okay, now we'll be asked what attributes we want to paste, and I really only have one attribute, which is the zoom parameter. So I'm just going to select them all. I'll say OK, and you'll see now, boom, our elements now match each other. Okay. So let's now take these two elements, and this is going to be the base for the look that we're going to be creating. But I don't want to be getting in and having, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 different layers in my timeline. What I'd like to do is keep this nice and organized and make it into something that we can use multiple times very easily in our timeline. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take the two clips, I'm going to right click, and we're going to create a new compound clip. Now, depending on how many compound clips you're going to be creating to do this technique that I'm going to show you, you're going to want to be clever in how you organize them and how you name them. What I'm going to do is just call this Rampant Film Look number 1. Okay, and obviously, number 2 would be number 2, number 3 would be number 3. The audio we don't care about because, well, we don't have any audio for this compound clip, so I'll just leave it on single adaptive. I'll say create. And now what I need to do is I need to step into this compound clip. Now the easiest way to think of a compound clip, if you're coming from Premiere or Final Cut Pro 10, is a compound clip is like a nested sequence. If you're coming from Media Composer, think of it as a collapse. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and we're going to open this compound clip in the timeline, and there's our vignette effect. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose another element to work with. Now let's find a film grain effect. I think this is a pretty good one here. Okay. Again, drag all the way down, drag up. And what we want to do, let's try that again here. Drag all the way down, drag up. There we go. And what we're going to want to do now with this element, besides right clicking, saying paste attributes, we'll just leave everything the way it was, and saying apply, is we're going to want to come in and we're going to want to change our transfer mode to be multiply. Now what I've just done is add film grain. Now it's a little bit hard to see until we get in and start doubling this layer up. Okay, but that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm just going to select both these elements. We're going to put them up onto video track number 3, and now we're starting to get in and add grain to this element. Okay, I'm just going to zoom all the way in so that you can see this. I'm just going to select these elements. I'm going to right click and I'm just going to disable them. Now you'll see as soon as I do that, all that grain disappears. Okay. Now I'm really going more so for the grain in the vignettes. That's where I want to see it, because in a lot of cases you don't see a lot of grain in the brightest parts of the shot. Okay. So let's come in, let's just enable our clips again. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to take another element here. I'm going to take my Rampant Studio Film Looks. Now what's also important to keep in mind is that once you start adding elements, you're going to start to see what's going on here. Now this has a lot more grain with it. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these two film grains, I'm going to put them up there. I'm going to put this element down here on the bottommost layer. Now you can really see what's going on with the film grain there. Okay, so again, let's do the exact same thing. I'm going to, first of all, we're going to paste our attributes. Okay, we're going to switch that, and you'll see the multiply transfer mode copied over as well. And again, we're going to copy and paste. Okay, and what we now have is a very nice film look that's got a lot of grain going on with it. We got some scratches and we have our vignette effect. But more so what we've done is we've kept this super organized in our timeline. Now all I have to do is to select the main compound clip. We're now going to switch this over to a multiply transfer mode, and what we've now created is our film look. Now if you take a close look, we got a lot of grain, we've got a lot of scratches and stuff like that. If I hit play here, you'll see we're getting some pretty good real-time playback. And what we've now just done is created a vintage look. Let's just actually stop playing just so I can reposition our clip. But we've created a great vintage film look, literally using a very simple color correction effect and some very cool Rampant design tools film looks. Okay, now I did talk about how we wanted to stay nice and organized in what we named our compound clips. Now why is that? Well, this is one film look. I did call it film look number 1. And depending on what we're doing in our timeline, we can easily grab this compound clip from the media pool and simply grab it and drag it and drop it down and use it wherever we want to. So you see where I'm going with this. What we could conceivably do is start creating our own unique film looks using the different Rampant Design Tools elements across this product right here. If we've got 50 different elements that come with this, 50, 60, 70, 100 of them, you can now get in and start creating different film looks that you can now tailor for whatever you need them for, keep them in your media pool, and then drag them and drop them down into your timeline every time you need them. Okay, so I hope this tutorial has shown you how it's not only super simple to get in and to create a cool sepia look for your footage, but with a little bit of thought, you can now start combining different Rampant Design Tools elements together to create new elements that you can then use in different places in your timeline to keep everything fresh and new every time. Alright, now don't forget, if you want some great free 4K elements, head on over and check them out at 4kfree.com, and to check out the entire Rampant Design Tools product line, you can head on over and check them out at rampantdesigntools.com.